Hi guys, good morning. I'm going on a trip in 3 hours and I have not packed and I haven't taken a shower. I haven't gotten ready. My clothes aren't even done in the wash. I have a lot to do, but I wanted to make a video for you guys. Today I want to tell you guys about what it was like growing up in purity culture. And I know that's a random topic to talk about like while I'm just getting ready for a trip, but you know what? That's fine. This is what we do on this channel. We just talk about random stuff. So if you didn't know, I grew up Catholic. And that's like one of the major religions that is, I guess, involved in purity culture. Purity culture is basically just the group of Christians. You know, there's evangelical Christians, there's Catholics, there's Protestants, whatever. And most of them push the message of waiting till marriage and staying pure, especially to women. You know, all that good stuff. I'm sure a lot of you know what I'm talking about because it's a very, very common, I guess, culture to grow up in, especially here in America. I don't know about other countries, but in Western Christianity, there's just an obsession with teenagers and sexuality, and it is just off the rails. So I'm gonna tell you about my experience growing up in purity culture because a lot of you found that very interesting and asked me about it. Woo, it's cold. My hair is so dirty to the point where when I straighten it, it like gets stuck because there's like buildup right here. And I know that sounds disgusting, but like look at my hair. It doesn't really get oily. Like I'm gonna take a shower and I will be right back. Hi guys, I'm in the car. Oh my God, I'm so hungry. I haven't eaten anything today. We're leaving in 3 hours, but the thing is, I look so bad. I look so ugly! I don't want to put makeup on because I'm about to go on a plane where I have to wear a mask for 4 hours. But let me start off my little story, my little life story for you guys from the beginning, as I always do. As I mentioned, I grew up in the Catholic Church. I think there's less of an emphasis on it in the Catholic Church than there is in other churches because I know of some like Protestant churches that talk about it way more than Catholics do. So there are some really big, like intense stories that I've heard from people who grew up in Protestant churches or evangelical churches or whatever, where they like made them wear a chastity belt or like made them do weird promises or sign contracts. And like, that's a real thing people do, in case you're wondering. Like, people take purity so seriously in evangelical churches, and like it is no joke out here for girls growing up in those churches. So some of my first memories of hearing about like sex before marriage and everything were actually pretty positive because my sisters kind of taught me the first stuff that I like knew about it from their own experiences and from like reading books about it and everything, and they had a much more, I don't know, not crazy stance on it. Like they were more saying it from like an emotional standpoint, like you should wait till marriage because then you know that you're not gonna like waste your first time on somebody bad, and like you're gonna have a really special experience with your husband if it's the only person you've ever had sex with, and all that stuff is true, and I really don't disagree with that, so that's good. But some of the first negative experiences I remember hearing about it, oh my God, is like in youth group. So youth group is basically where church kids learn more about church, but in like a hip way. So like churches will have a youth pastor or like a youth leader, that's what it's called in Catholic Church. They'll talk about sex and they'll talk about drinking and they'll talk about like friendships and relationships and all kinds of stuff. So I remember there was a whole lesson on dressing modestly. They did, oh, I missed the Starbucks. It's right here. They did a big lesson on dressing modestly, and they played this video of like what teenage boys think when they see an immodest girl. And I think that a lot of people watching this who grew up in the church probably have seen this video before because it's like a stock video. I remember talking about like the science of how when a man looks at a girl in a bikini, then the same signals get set off in his brain as when he looks at a hammer or nails, and he sees her as an object automatically, and like that's just his biology, and you need to deal with that, and you need to not, you know, add to that, and you need to understand that when you dress immodestly, you are causing your brother in Christ to see you as a tool rather than a person, and it's your fault. Hold on guys, I'm pulling into Starbucks, so give me 1 second to order. Okay, I got my breakfast sandwich and I got my drink. I usually don't go to Starbucks. I know some people go to Starbucks like every single day, but I actually haven't been in a really long time. I'm just here because I didn't really have time to make any breakfast before I left and I'm starving. So anyway, I remember this video so vividly because it was so intense, and like it's really ironic that people push this message of modesty when the Bible, like the only time it talks about it you know what? I don't even want to go on about that. Point is, they played this video, and I remember I was so like entrenched in, is that a word? Entrenched? I was so involved, I don't know, in this culture that like it didn't even faze me. I was like, yeah, that's true. Like girls do need to dress modestly because like we need to protect our men, and I don't want them to lust after me, so it's my responsibility to keep them from doing that. Oh my God. So like watching this video was not weird for me. And that's so fucked up. Like men might see women as, you know, objects, but that doesn't make them a good man. That doesn't make them a normal man. Like I know my husband, when he sees a girl in a bikini, whether or not he sees her as different than a girl who doesn't have a bikini on, he doesn't care. He doesn't dwell on it. He doesn't think about it. Maybe just don't talk to guys who see girls who wear bikinis as objects. Like there's plenty of good men out in the world who don't see that. And like I was under this guise, and that's what purity culture does, that men are just untamed, unhinged sex machines who all they know is sex and attraction to women. And if you show 1 inch of your boob or your midriff or you have tight pants or whatever, then they just can't control themselves, and you need to fix that. Like your body is a problem. Your body is a trap for all teenage boys. And like that's so wrong for girls and for guys. Like I don't know why these churches push this message so much, because not only is it so outdated and wrong, but I feel like it also just makes guys feel so bad, and like it just paints men as so terrible when they're really not. Like there are some guys who are horrible and do that, but there are also a lot of guys who don't. Because of this whole modesty thing, then I was wearing one-piece swimsuits. I would wear tank tops underneath crop tops. I like really didn't want to show my stomach. I thought it was like the worst thing in the world, and like I was under the impression that if I dressed like that, I would be seen as an object, and I needed to not objectify myself, and modest is hottest and all that stuff, right? And then of course there's all the talk about sex, and I don't know if you guys know this or not. In the Bible, it says a lot of stuff about women losing their virginity. I now don't believe most of it, and not that I don't believe it, but I now think that it's outdated and wrong. But regardless of that, what I was taught as a kid, there wasn't a lot of context to it. It was just like, here's the Bible verse. We're not really gonna explain very much of it, and we're not gonna offer any opposing viewpoints or any reasons like why you should believe us, but this is what it says. Sex before marriage is bad. And it's hard to challenge that like when you grow up in it, because when you're a kid and when you're a teenager, especially when you don't like have the confidence to go research things and, you know, to figure out whether something's actually true, you just kind of take what people tell you. You don't learn much about like sex at all. They just tell you not to have it. And my view on sex before marriage, I think, was a lot stronger than other Catholics, because I had my older siblings who actually had like some better viewpoints on it, in my opinion, and they weren't just like spouting Bible verses like at all. They actually had a more like emotional and like well-rounded reason for waiting till marriage. So that's why I think I lasted so long, and why I didn't have sex till I was like 19, and I ended up marrying the guy who I had sex with. But I can't imagine what it would have been like if I didn't have that. Like my church friends, some of them were even crazier than my friends who didn't go to church. Okay, I need to go to TJ Maxx. I have a whole shopping list to get, and I hope I can get it done in time, because I currently have 2.5 hours till I have to leave, and I haven't packed yet. But it's fine. So I'm gonna go into the store, and I will be right back, and I'll give you guys a haul when I get home. Okay, I'm back home. I went to TJ Maxx. I bought this tank top, which is very cute. I've just been needing some basic tank tops because I don't have that many. I also bought this one, which is just like a green tank. I bought a suitcase that I can't show you because it's too big. And then I bought these adorable bags. Look how cute these are for like makeup and stuff. Anyway, so I was kind of just telling you guys about like the general beliefs that I grew up with and the pressure that it puts on you and how weird it feels. But I recently just started to like actually try to figure things out for myself. Growing up in such a strong like purity culture, it's tough to do so because you feel so wrong. And like there was a lot of, you know, confusion and tears and like mental battles and just like not good times, because I was just so distraught, like having to unlearn all of these things that I learned. But there actually is a lot of freedom in it, because when you do start to do a lot of this research of like, you know, deconstruction of purity culture, as people call it and all that, then you do start to feel confident in your beliefs. And you're like, you know what? I actually don't think that this is a sin. I don't think that girls need to dress modestly for men. You actually start to find like biblical evidence for it when you start to look for it. And there actually are a lot of people who will, you know, back up these beliefs and who agree with you. So like there's a YouTuber, God is Gray, and she makes a lot of videos about this. And she was actually one of the first people I ever saw online who like, you know, validated what I was believing and like made me feel like I wasn't a horrible sinner for like not really believing in purity culture anymore. And that was like a really amazing experience. So if you're like questioning that or you want to learn more, I would definitely highly recommend her. And then also I did a lot of just like Googling of like sex before marriage, not a sin, and like stuff like that. I would Google like the opposite viewpoint of what I was taught just to see like what other people were saying. Cause obviously like I had already heard everything I needed to hear from the Christian perspective. So I wanted to Google like a Christian perspective that was very radical and like a progressive Christian perspective. And honestly, that's one that a lot of people say is satanic, and a lot of people say you're going to hell if you believe that. And like I get a lot of people in my comments being very mean about it, but you know what? I'm used to it at this point. And I feel confident enough in my beliefs that I can look someone in the face and tell them, you know what? There are a lot of things that we have deemed outdated just as a society that are considered sins in the Bible. So I really don't like how people will tell me that I can't like pick and choose like what's a sin and what's not, but then they do the exact same thing. Like everybody's doing it. It's not weird and it's not wrong and it doesn't make you crazy. But when you grow up in this purity culture, it makes you think that, and people kind of trick you into thinking all of these really negative things, and it's really hard work to not believe it anymore. And you know what? Also, I just want to clarify, there's also nothing wrong with like being pure. There's nothing wrong with waiting till marriage. There's nothing wrong with dressing modestly. I think that's all good and well, as long as you are doing it because you want to and not because somebody is making you feel like you're gonna go to hell if you don't. So yeah, I'm going to finish packing. I have to get on a plane in like an hour. I'm a little bit stressed, but it's fine. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching this video, even though I look ugly the whole time. And I love you, and I'll talk to you soon. Goodbye.